electricity. It's all around us, in almost all aspects of modern living, from the 24-hour day to media, communications, and information systems, the so-called global village and our shared electronic culture, to ideas, images, and perceptions that transcend time and space. In fact, more than half the technology and inventions for the past 100 years, for instance, have been influenced or made possible by electricity. Ultimately, life as we know it is powered by electricity. We can no longer do without it. It is almost as vital a resource as air or water or even food. And yet, most of us don't know what it is and how it works. So let's start with a simple question. Where did it all begin? Here, with this lump of amber. Ancient scientists have long been aware that electricity existed. Although they didn't call it electricity back then, as early as 600 BC, the Greek Thales of Miletus described a strange phenomenon. He noticed that when amber, a substance they thought of as gold, was rubbed against fur, it glowed faintly and attracted small particles of straw and fur. Incidentally, the Greek word for amber is electron, which is derived from elector, meaning beaming sun. Sounds familiar? But then the Greeks, more interested in other pursuits, left it at that. It wasn't until 1600 AD when a British scientist, William Gilbert, in developing a theory of magnetism, experimented with amber and other substances. Gilbert was the first to use the terms electricity, electric force, magnetic pole, and electric attraction. His experiments on amber and other substances fueled other thinkers and inventors for the next 350 years. Their names survived and are forever immortalized in history and science books and everyday usage. Now let's go back to amber. What the ancient Greeks once thought of as a golden stone was in fact a fossilized resin made from tree sap. In the film Jurassic Park, dinosaurs were cloned from dinosaur DNA extracted from insects trapped in amber. In reality, we mostly associate fossils with fossil fuels, but these started forming before dinosaurs even walked the earth. Today, we generate electricity by converting energy mostly from these fossil fuels. The thing is, these fossil fuels are a limited resource. What took hundreds of millions of years to create a gallon of gas, once you've burned it, it's gone. Just like the dinosaurs. Our supply of fuel oil, gas, and coal will run out someday. Does that mean we can't generate electricity anymore then? Fortunately, there are alternative sources of energy like solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, wind, and others, which have the added benefit of having less impact on the environment as well as being renewable or sustainable. While more and more developments into these alternative sources of energy are being made every day, it is true that the world is still very much dependent on heavily polluting fossil fuels. But as long as there's a future, there's always a shiny hole. In part 1, we learned some basics about electricity, generation, and amber. But how did we get from there to here? Well, according to the popular story, that took a man with a kite. Okay, there was also a key. The man was Benjamin Franklin. The year, 1752. The kite, as far as we know, was never named. And the key, that unlocked the mystery of electricity. You see, Ben Franklin's highly dangerous experiment proved his theory that lightning and the spark from amber were actually the same thing. Over the years, not only did we find out that electricity could be generated, but also that it could be conducted. But how to make practical use of it? Any takers? Actually, two great men did, although from different approaches. One was Thomas Alva Edison, and the other, perhaps lesser known, Nikola Tesla. By 1879, he had improved the original design, making light bulbs that would last 40 hours then 1,200 hours. Now that he had a product, he needed a way to power homes that would use his light bulbs. Ever the inventor businessman, he developed the direct current system, charging large batteries that would then power the big cities. He invested big, and he was raking in big profits, as his company had essentially sole control of the system. Unfortunately, the system also had big flaws. For example, it worked in the cities, but it was impractical over long distances, and Edison knew it. So he hired another brilliant man, Nikola Tesla, to help solve the problem. Tesla, over his career, had developed the fluorescent bulb, neon lights, radio, radar, the electron microscope, and even the microwave oven, years before they were officially invented. He was actually able to save Edison a lot of money with refinements to the system. He was, however, a timid man, directly opposite to Edison's domineering personality. Contrasting two were their approaches to genius. For while Edison was the consummate experimenter, famous for his trial and error approach, Tesla was more of a theoretician. Unfortunately, due to the extreme differences in their outlook and approach to everything, they eventually had a falling out. Tesla quit. After parting ways with Edison, Tesla also invented a cheaper, more efficient system to generate and transmit electrical power, the alternating current system, actually solving direct current's problems, and a system far superior to Edison's. When Tesla got financial backing from the industrialist George Westinghouse and started offering AC systems to developing cities, Edison set to work discrediting Tesla and his work. Edison used his vast resources and influence to squash Tesla's genius in what history books call the Current Wars, a public relations battle royale that rivals modern dirty politics and smear campaigns. Between two competing currents, two schools of thought, a historic choice was made. Alternating current eventually won, and it's the standard that's most widely used today. Direct current still survives today in the form of batteries and solar cells, but never in the scale it used to enjoy before. A curious footnote to this entire affair is that while AC won over DC, it was Edison who eventually profited from it. For it was Edison's company who was commissioned to build most of the AC generators at that time. Perhaps a primary reason why Tesla is relatively unknown today. And so here we are, with energy that will keep driving us forward as long as we can generate it. Today, just as there are alternative sources to generating electricity, there are alternatives to managing it and keeping it sustainable with lesser impact on the environment. It's all up to us, because we already have the key.
electricity is invisible to people. Most people never ask where it comes from, how it is made, or for some of us, why we pay what we pay for it. With so many companies producing electricity from varied sources, with so many users, across a country with different situations, how do you ensure the reliability, security, and cost efficiency of the electricity supply for the Filipino consumer?
That's our job. We are the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation.
We are PEMC.
We are PEMC.
I am PEMC.
I am PEMC.
Our mission is power, efficiency, market, and competition.
Making it possible for electricity to have a price that is reasonable, by proactively governing a market to ensure that there is a level playing field, transparency, and efficiency. Ultimately, enable people to use electricity at reasonable prices to let them live life to their full potential.
The wholesale electricity spot market was established in 2006, and we have entered into an operating agreement with the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines for its operation in 2018, and we continue to govern it.
We make sure that the prices in the market are fair and determined based on the available supply of electricity from generation companies to meet the demand for electricity that we consumers use.
Encouraging businesses in the electric power industry to efficiently utilize their resources.
And make informed and sound decisions through market outcomes.
We aspire to have an excellent market.
A market that is agile, that can adapt to the changing needs of its participants. A market that is openly accessible.
A market that is accountable to itself and keeps its participants in check.
We make sure that there is healthy competition. We expect commitment and compliance from the power companies that participate in the market.
We discourage anti-competitive behavior and abuse of market power.
I am PEMC.
I am PEMC.
We are PEMC. We embody these values, values that help us grow as an individual and as an organization.
Passion is the heart of our organization.
Ethics is at the core of our service.
We serve with integrity, honesty, transparency, and equity.
We are an organization of competent and committed professionals. We are passionate about excellence.
We seize every day with the goal to improve ourselves, to improve our service.
We value our partnerships. We collaborate with our partners in government and the community we serve.
We work together to achieve a common purpose.
We are PEMC.
We believe by giving energy to people,
We give them power.
Power to protect their loved ones. Power to transform their lives. Achieve their goals.
and improve their lives. We give them the power to choose, helping them reach their full potential.
We are people energized by mission and commitment.
We are PEMC.
We are PEMC, a premier electricity market and champion of governance.
We are the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation.
Ignite is this year's theme, reflecting PEMC's role in igniting excellence and dynamism in the electricity market.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, I welcome you, fellow members, to this meeting. We approved and recorded for this purpose Resolution number 2019-1B adopted.
I am deeply honored to lead an organization that upholds commitment, professionalism, and excellence.
We achieved a very significant milestone in ITIRA and in the. We shall continue to perform the Western governance functions, among others the monitoring and the operations of the market participants' behavior, and market outcomes. Sa inyo pong lahat, sa inyong suporta, maraming salamat.
Since 2009, I've got a wide number of consulting assignments.
Our stakeholders that would like to actually form this electricity derivatives market, and hopefully that we will again be able to contribute.
The crucial aspect is the regulatory framework and the regulator. So right now we work under the Power Reform Act.
If there is a burning platform here, I would have thought that it would be the ability for people to manage their risk and manage price volatility and take the journey towards more efficient pricing.
This concludes today's event. Thank you to all of you who have come to participate in the PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting and the first ever EMX on Electricity Derivatives Market. PEMC remains your constant partner in truly igniting transformation in the power sector.
Good afternoon, fellow directors, officers, members, and guests. As Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation, I officially call the 2020 General Membership Meeting to order. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I welcome you, fellow members, to this meeting. For the first time in PEMC history, we are conducting this meeting in virtual format because of the current pandemic. Upon registration, you are allowed to vote on matters to be passed on in this meeting.
For our voting procedure, the company's sectoral representative and members entitled the holder to a vote in accordance with the allocation set out in the bylaws of the company. The minutes of the meeting will reflect the final tally of votes for all the matters taken up during the meeting.
On behalf of the PEMC management and staff, I welcome you to the 2020 Annual General Membership Meeting of the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation. The Philippine Electricity Market Corporation, as the governing body of the wholesale electricity spot market, ensures the effective and proactive governance of the power bourse to safeguard the interests and welfare of the Filipino consumers. Our mission is PEMC, that is power, efficiency, market, and competition. With our concerted efforts, yours and ours, we truly believe that together we will achieve increased accessibility to electricity, spur market growth, and sustain industrial and economic prosperity.
Fellow members, allow me to deliver my message. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. It is a diligent task to maintain the efficiency and dynamism in the wholesale electricity spot market, while fostering fair competition among the market participants at the same time. Philippine Electricity Market Corporation remains steadfast amidst these challenges and accomplished a successful 2019. It has always been a resolute commitment to provide quality services to our stakeholders and industry partners. And that's the least that PEMC will deliver this 2020. This 2020, our aim is to shine even brighter. Go radiate, as you've heard it, as we work towards the realization of PEMC's goals. Secretary, is there any other business to consider in this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, based on the agenda, there is no other item to consider in this meeting.
Thank you. Since there is no other business to consider, the 2020 Annual General Membership Meeting is hereby adjourned. We will be posting a link of the recorded meetings on our website. Members may raise any concerns or questions regarding the meeting by sending an email to our Corporate Secretary at legal@wesm.ph within 2 weeks from publication of the link. Thank you very much for your support, and we wish you all continued good health in the coming years. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
The PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting 2021 will begin in 20 minutes.
The PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting 2021 will begin in a few minutes. Please help us improve our events by accomplishing the PEMC Transactional Survey form after the event. We will be sharing the QR code and link later on the chat box. Your kind cooperation is highly appreciated. The PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting 2021 will begin in a few minutes. As a courtesy to all the attendees, we request everyone to please ensure that the microphones on your respective devices are on mute. Thank you. Lord God, source of life, none of us live for or because of ourselves. We all live as part of a community, facing challenging and uncertain times, perplexed by circumstances beyond our control or understanding. We rely on you for comfort and encouragement to further strengthen our faith. As we pray for an end to this pandemic, we firmly trust that you are with us more than ever, and we implore you to guide us as we all work together for an industry that sustains and enhances life. Awaken in us an awareness of how best to strengthen the principles and ideals of our brothers in the industry. Remind us that the common sense and worldly wisdom we have been taught need to be set aside in favor of a holy wisdom, a new way, and a different path for the common good. In the discussions that take place this day, open our hearts and minds to sense the wisdom you have to share. May this time of meeting be blessed with your presence. May they who meet be blessed with your wisdom. May the organizations they represent be blessed with your hope. All this we ask through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son and our Savior. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, ewas ang sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigiw, sa dagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na naghihingi, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang ay maghihingi. Luman ang araw ng warhabit pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang hinigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mga
We ignited in 2019 and radiated in 2020. This year, we keep the ignited fire burning as we continue to radiate excellence, passion, and commitment, unfailingly powering the country in the face of this raging pandemic. We continue to beat the odds as we collectively light up the path in upholding the transparency and integrity of a dynamic electricity spot market. No task is too hard. No chore is left unfinished. As we illuminate. Good afternoon, and welcome to the PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting 2021. We trust that we are all safe, healthy, and productive in the comforts of our own homes or offices. We begin today's program with the reports from the Market Governance Committees. The Market Governance Committees are the extension of the PEM Board in performing governance functions in the Power Boards, including the conduct of market studies in support of policies, and to further the development of the WESM, dispute resolutions, market audit and surveillance, and rules change. Our first speaker is the Dispute Resolution Administrator, Attorney Jesusito Moralios.
Greetings, everyone. We at the Dispute Resolution Administration are mandated to resolve disputes that arise out of WESM transactions or between market participants. My name is Jesusito Moralios. I am the Dispute Resolution Administrator. Serving with me on an on-call basis are about 30 well-experienced mediators and arbitrators, most of whom are well-known internationally for their advocacy on arbitration and other dispute resolution modes. As you know, WESM disputes are mandated to be submitted for resolution in accordance with the WESM rules and the Dispute Resolution Manual. Over the past 10 years, we are proud to report that we had only 2 arbitrations, and that is good news, in that the fewer disputes we have to resolve, the better it is for the market, as disputes are unfortunately disruptive of the market and or the economy. I am of course referring to the commercial type of disputes. In other words, the disputes that are resolved through WESM arbitration are distinctively commercial. That is to say that violations of WESM governance policies continue to be adjudicated and or enforced by the PEMC governance committees to whom certain police powers of the Energy Regulatory Commission and the Department of Energy have been delegated. However, when these violations in turn cause a commercial damage to WESM members, a resultant claim for indemnification could become a subject for WESM arbitration. If I might restate that, the disputes that are resolved through WESM arbitration are the commercial type, whether this be born out of a market transaction or as a byproduct result of a violation of the WESM rules. These are not the disciplinary type that is an exercise of the state's police power and implementable through the PEMC governance committees. As I have mentioned, the fewer disputes we have to resolve, the better it is for the market, as disputes are unfortunately disruptive of the market and or the economy. Thus, while we continue to be prepared to resolve WESM disputes, we nonetheless promote and implement measures towards dispute avoidance. In respect of dispute avoidance, we have been reviewing the WESM rules and manuals, looking for any imperfections therein, such imperfections as could be sources of disputes. And should any be found therein, we bring this to the attention of the relevant WESM governance committees. Similarly, when the 2 arbitrations we had in 2018 to 2019, a report was thereafter made to the PEM board, bringing to their attention the events that led to the dispute so that measures might be put in place that the same might not recur in the future. In addition, we continue to implement the dispute management protocol wherein market participants are led or encouraged to resolve their controversies internally among themselves, to the effect that controversies do not quite escalate into full-blown disputes. At the other end of the spectrum, we in the Dispute Resolution Administration continue to be prepared to expeditiously and cost-efficiently resolve WESM disputes that may be submitted to us for resolution. For instance, we have added to the Dispute Resolution Manual a section on emergency arbitration, and we have sought certain of our arbitrators to be on standby on a monthly rotation basis and be available to serve an urgent arbitration need, if any, even on short notice. Also, we have submitted for inclusion in the Dispute Resolution Manual a new section on virtual hearings. This is to address the need of the times for a non-physical conduct of procedural and evidentiary hearings, noting that health and safety of our WESM members is a primordial concern. Moreover, this virtual hearing protocol enhances or raises to another level the cost efficiency and being expeditious of WESM arbitration. In respect of its quality, we have, on the one hand, seen to it that the guidelines thereof are of international best practices. We having adopted the best practices from the internationally known arbitration institutions. On the other hand, we have keenly took into consideration our national laws on both procedural due process and electronic commerce, with the end of ensuring that the arbitral awards rendered under this novel quasi-judicial practice are duly and well enforceable. On other fronts, the renewable energy market has published a dispute resolution manual that uniquely serves the participants' particular needs in that market. Meanwhile, we have submitted for inclusion in the dispute resolution manual another new section, and this is on final offer arbitration, also known as pendulum arbitration. Final offer or pendulum arbitration is being proposed for disputes arising from transactions in the retail market. As its name suggests, arbitration is much abbreviated to, in a word, pendulum between the final offers of the parties. This is because retail market disputes are understood to be limited to transfer prices and or durations. At any rate, as their disputes get more complex, the parties always have an opt-out way back to the conventional mode. Conversely, while regular WESM arbitrations would take the conventional mode, should the parties think their disputes are simple, they can always opt in to the abbreviated final offer or pendulum arbitration mode. What's important here is the parties get to resolve their disputes in the mode that is most appropriate to their needs, whether conventional, emergency, or pendulum. If you have not viewed our publications on WESM arbitration, I would like to invite you to do so. You are also invited to communicate to us your feedback on our WESM arbitration practices. Thank you and good day.
Our next speaker is the chairperson of the Market Surveillance Committee, Engineer Francis Mapile.
Good day to all the participants. The Market Surveillance Committee is pleased to share with you some highlights of our activities and accomplishment over the last 15 years. 15 years of the WESM has seen the MSC at the forefront of PEMC's market monitoring and assessment, as well as enforcement and compliance. This is consistent with the MSC's role to monitor and report on activities in the WESM and ARCOA, to promote a truly efficient and competitive market, monitor and recognize compliances and non-compliances in a manner that will support the aim to strengthen the culture of compliance and participate meaningfully in policy and real development. Assessment of the spot market is part of the main work of the MSC, with the Market Assessment Group as our primary support unit. The MSC has reviewed, updated, and defined market monitoring indices. With the MSC's market monitoring indices as basis, the MSC regularly reports to the PEM board, the DOE, and the ERC our assessment of market results. Regular reports include the monthly, seasonal, and annual market assessment reports, review reports on market intervention and suspension, review of overriding constraints, monitoring of prolonged testing and commissioning in the WESM, as well as review of the NGCP's grid operating program. The MSC likewise reports on unusual market outcomes. Among others, this includes the interesting pricing events report. We have completed in 2014 our review of extreme negative prices and submitted our recommendation for the ERC to consider implementing the market floor price under the WESM design study. In past years, the MSC has submitted to the DOE and ERC a number of special assessment reports, including market situational reports on Malampaya shutdowns, assessment of red and yellow alert issuances in 2016, a special assessment report on the high market prices in April 2019. We have also submitted to the PEM board our offer pattern analysis during the initial implementation of the enhanced community quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, the MSC completed several studies, some of which are as follows. Study on the competitiveness of the Visayas market in 2008, study on the Mindanao electricity market in 2019, and in 2020, the Market Surveillance Committee study on competitiveness of reserves. The MSC also prepared a position paper on market management system failure, study on the economic viability of the generation sector during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the MSC survey paper on the competition framework in other jurisdictions. Another significant work of the MSC is our monitoring and assessment of the retail market. With the implementation of the ARCOA in 2013, the MSC adopted the proposed catalog on retail market monitoring data and indices. This in turn became the basis for the MSC's regular monitoring of the ARCOA market. In our periodic review of the quarterly and annual retail market assessment reports that are published and submitted to the PEM board, the DOE, and the ERC. Moving forward to 2020, the MSC initiated a review of the ARCOA market implementation following a consultative approach. And so the MSC launched a dialogue series with RESA, the Retail Electricity Suppliers Association, the ARCOA contestable customers, and the ERC to solicit stakeholders' comments and inputs on the topic. The MSC submitted the ARCOA issues paper to the DOE and ERC in February of 2021. The MSC is regularly monitoring the compliance of WESM participants with the WESM rules. We have continuously improved the process and finally adopted the streamlined compliance monitoring and review procedure beginning 2018. Based on this review, the MSC initiates the submission of requests for investigations, the RFIs, of trading participants for possible non-compliance. The MSC also enhanced the investigation process through the establishment of a firm set of parameters under which non-compliances are justified. This streamlined the investigation process and enable the MSC to review investigation reports on a monthly basis. Furthermore, the MSC, together with the ECO, developed the criteria on the compliance rating of generator trading participants. After a series of discussion, the MSC approved the guidelines for the conferment of the WESM Compliance Awards in April 2020. Accordingly, the MSC endorsed a total of 5,935 RFIs to the ECO and reviewed a total of 1,348 investigation cases with recommendations that were presented and consequently approved by the PEM board. Finally, in response to the COVID-19 public health crisis, the MSC has put in place a policy on compliance monitoring to help guide the ECO in managing its response to non-compliances that are primarily attributable to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of the MSC's mandate is the design of financial penalties. The Financial Penalty Manual was promulgated in 2008. Given the evolution of the market over the past years, the MSC has reviewed and submitted its proposed WESM Penalty Manual Issue 2 and endorsed the same for the approval of the DOE in September 2018. In the same year, the MSC likewise reviewed the Market Surveillance Enforcement and Compliance Market Manual, Issue 3, and has correspondingly submitted to the Rules Change Committee our proposed Market Surveillance Manual, Issue 4. The MSC also participated in the development of the proposed Enforcement and Compliance Manual. In 2020, the MSC submitted to the PEM board the WESM Industry Code of Ethics, prescribing the standard of behavior which WESM entities are enjoined to follow. The code has been recently promulgated by the DOE, essentially adopting the PEMC's proposal initiated by the MSC. The MSC has also participated in the rules change process of the WESM. In 2013, the MSC has proposed as an enhancement of the MPI the inclusion of an automatic prompt or notice to trading participants that cancellation and offers less than their maximum available capacity without providing any valid reason will be subject to further investigation. The MSC has likewise commented on a number of proposed rules changes, some of which are on the following: reduction of minimum offer block size from 5 megawatt to 1 megawatt, and the cancellation of offers in the year 2013, management of must-run and must-stop units in 2015, proposed amendments to the WESM Manual on metering standards and procedures in 2016, Market Operator Information Disclosure and Confidentiality Manual in 2017, and to the WESM Rules and WESM Registration Manual, particularly on provisions related to testing and commissioning in 2019. Further, in 2020, the MSC has co-authored the proposed amendments to the Administered Price Determination methodology, which was submitted to RCC. To end, you can be assured that the Market Surveillance Committee is committed to do the work just as hard to ensure the efficient monitoring and assessment of our markets as we manage the challenges ahead and come together with vital lessons from the breakthroughs and milestones of the last 15 years. Once again, I say to you, good day, and thank you very much.
Our next speaker is the chairperson of the PEM Audit Committee, Professor Felixberto Bustos Jr.
Welcome, participants. With the goal of reinforcing the trading participants' confidence in the transparency and adequacy of the operation of the WESM and retail market, the PEM Audit Committee, a three-month team composed of experts in the fields of financial auditing, compliance and certification audit, and IT systems audit, was formed in 2007. The core purpose of the PAC is to identify areas that need further improvement to ensure the efficient operation of the market. As one of its major functions, the PAC was tasked to supervise the conduct of market operations audits and metering arrangements review to assess the adequacy of the metering arrangement and security systems and processes of the WESM. To date, 6 MO audits and 3 RMIA audits have been conducted. The results of the first and second MO audits led PEMC to conduct the WESM design study to address several market design implementation issues which were undermining the efficiency of the WESM. This resulted to the enhancements of the WESM design and operations. Several software and systems used by the MO serve as the backbone of the operation of the market. Thus, there is a need to evaluate its conformance to set standards, market rules, and manuals. The PAC stays committed in reviewing, examining these software and systems to ensure their efficiency and operability, resulting in the determination of any present errors, then the proper actions to correct the same. The PAC supervised the software audit of the new Market Management System, or NMMS, the Central Registration and Settlement Systems, or CRSS, and related tools, systems, and applications that will be used for the enhanced WESM design and operations. The audit of the enhancement to the Net Settlement Surplus, or NSS, the Net Settlement Deficit, or NSD, tools for the 1-hour market was also conducted in compliance with ERC Resolution number 07, series of 2019, entitled A Resolution Adopting Amendments to the Rules for the Distribution of Net Settlement Surplus. This provides the mechanism for the distribution and flowback of the NSS and NSD. These audits were handled by the Intelligent Energy System, or IES, an external auditor commissioned by the PAC. Furthermore, the PAC also supervised the conduct of the software audit of the Accounts Management System, or AMS, of the market operator in 2019, and the subsequent enhancement of the AMS in 2020. These audits were handled by RG Manabat and Company, KPMG of the Philippines. As a way of showing commitment and support to developments in the market, in 2019, the PAC provided oversight of the Market Readiness Assessment, or MRA, activities conducted by a third-party expert, the Sapere Research Group Limited. The MRA was conducted to ensure the effective implementation of and transition to the enhanced WESM design and operations in Luzon and Visayas, and the implementation of the WESM in Mindanao through a parallel operation of the MO. This resulted to the creation of the Market Readiness Steering Committee, or the MRSC, composed of champions from the PEMC, the MO, the SO, and the Philippine Independent Power Producer Association, or PIPA, in June of 2019. This ensured that the go-live conditions identified during the assessment were addressed. The PAC provided recommendations in the development of the market operator performance metrics for the enhanced WESM design and operations in 2020. It aimed at developing a strategic set of performance measures that will further encourage the market operator to perform its responsibilities under the market rules and manuals. Presently, the PAC supervises the following audits. First, the conduct of audit of PDM-related enhancements to the NMS and the CRSS in compliance with the ERS decision on the PDM application utilizing the IES. Second, the audit of the Philippine Renewable Energy Market Systems, or PREMS, and the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing utilizing the Reyes-Tacondong and Company. And finally, the joint 7 MO audit and 4th RMIA using the external auditor, RSM Australia Partnership Limited. In behalf of the PAC, we thank you for listening.
Our next speaker is the chairperson of the Rules Change Committee, Attorney Myla Lourdes de Castro.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Attorney Myla Lourdes de Castro, the current chair of the Rules Change Committee, or RCC, of the Wholesale Electricity Spot Market. Rules changes facilitated every milestone in the growth of the WESM. Over the past 15 years, the RCC assisted the PEM Board, DOE, and ERC to develop rules, processes, and procedures to guide the dynamic electricity market. To date, the RCC completed processing 315 rules and manuals change proposals, touching upon a wide variety of topics in areas such as WESM governance, market operations, the retail market, and the enhanced WESM design and operations. We look back on the themes of the RCC's key accomplishments. First is the improvements in pricing mechanisms. The RCC played a significant role in upholding fair pricing mechanisms in the WESM where economic incentives meet public interest. The WESM's various pricing mechanisms, such as the price determination methodology, administered price determination methodology for intervals under market intervention or market suspension, price substitution methodology for intervals with price separation due to network congestion, and compensation for must-run units using the Generation Price Index, have all gone through thoughtful evaluation and improvements since 2006 to preserve fair market-based prices for both suppliers and end consumers. Second is the implementation of retail competition and open access, or retail market. The RCC aided the expansion of further competition in the industry that enabled the benefits of a competitive market to trickle down to the level of the consumers. The RCC proposed rules changes in 2017, 2019, and 2020 to improve the implementation of the RCOA that granted qualified customers the option to choose their own electricity supplier. These changes were related to retail metering, registration, process for switching suppliers, and audit of retail metering arrangements. Third is the integration of renewable energy generation and energy storage systems. With a national thrust for using renewable energy resources, the RCC facilitated amendments in the market rules and manuals in 2017 to support the DOE's policy to integrate and encourage the entry of wind, solar, biomass, and run-of-river hydro energy resources in the WESM. In 2018, the RCC likewise helped incorporate battery energy storage systems and pumped storage units in the WESM. These energy resources will soon be accommodated as non-generating resources or NGR, concurrent with the implementation of the 5-minute market. Fourth is the preparations for enhanced WESM design and operations. For the past 5 years, the RCC carefully assessed critical rules change proposals to establish the processes and procedures for the implementation of a 5-minute market. The work of the RCC in close coordination with various industry stakeholders became a cornerstone in laying the groundwork in the WESM and the retail rules and manuals on major market processes such as registration, scheduling and pricing, dispatch, compliance, and billing and settlement. These preparations ensure that clear provisions are already in place once the new market management system rolls out, including the integration of Mindanao and the WESM. And lastly, the transition to independent market operator. One of the culmination of the goals of the IPIRA is the creation of a fully independent entity to operate the WESM. In 2018, the RCC contributed to the achievement of this goal by processing the necessary changes to the WESM rules in order to prepare the industry for an era of a more agile and independent market operations and more proactive governance of the WESM. The RCC is proud to be an instrumental part in shaping the development of the WESM. As we will soon step on a new milestone in the growth of the market, the RCC shall remain determined to relentlessly uphold a fair and transparent market and facilitate its continuous progress. On behalf of the members of the Rules Change Committee, I extend gratitude to WESM members and industry stakeholders for partnering with us and in the years ahead. Thank you and good day.
Our last speaker for the WESM Governance Committees is the chairperson of the Technical Committee, Professor Jordan Rel Oreliaza.
Good afternoon. I'm Jordan Rel C. Oreliaza, chairperson of the Technical Committee. For 15 years, the TC as one of the WESM governance committees has consistently provided support to the PEM board to effectively manage and govern the Philippine WESM. The TC is tasked to monitor and review technical matters under and in relation to the WESM rules, and the Philippine Grid Code, and the Philippine Distribution Code. Currently, the TC is composed of 4 members: myself, professional electrical engineers Fortunato Lainez and Jaime Mendoza as independent members, and Ermelindo R. Bugawisan Jr. as the system operator representative. Since 2007, the TC has provided assistance to various stakeholders requiring the TC's expertise in addressing their concerns through a TC request for study and technical review. The TC has provided their insights and views on various issues such as position paper on PISAM's request for the reclassification of Bacon Hydroelectric Power Plant and CE Casecnan Multipurpose Hydroelectric Power Plant from scheduled generation facilities to renewable energy generating facilities in 2008. A position paper on the proper criteria for determining the correct P-mean of registered generation facilities. A position paper on the issue of P-mean, P-max, and ramp rates in 2010. A position paper on SMLCO's request for assistance in resolving the issue on the relocation of market trading node in 2012. And a position paper on a real-time dispatch compliance issue in 2019. The TC also prepared and published in the PEMC website the following studies for the stakeholders' reference: a study on Luzon hydroelectric power plants in 2013, a study on the minimum stable and combined cycle gas turbine plants in 2016, a study on the increasing penetration of VRE resources and the reserve market in 2018, and in 2017, a study on the framework for the participation of battery energy storage systems in the WESM. For example, the thesis study on BSS in 2017 recommended that relevant market rules be revised accordingly to establish the requirement for the classification of BESS as non-generator resource and requirement for registration and offer submission. This proposal led the Department of Energy to issue a department circular adopting further amendments to the WESM manuals on the participation of BSS and pump storage units in the WESM. The TEC has likewise conducted technical reviews on the following topics as were requested by the DOE. A technical review on the system security and reliability guidelines, a technical review on the management of must-run units in 2012, technical review on the reclassification of impounding hydroelectric power plants as non-scheduled generating units in 2020. The TC recommended the retention of the current classification of impounding hydroelectric power plants, which are classified as scheduled generating unit. This was followed up on an appropriate classification of run-of-river hydroelectric power plants on the WESM in 2020, in which the TC recommended that this should be based on the plant's registered capacity and their capability to manage, store, and control its output. Aside from the conduct of technical studies, the TC also provided their assistance to other WESM governance committees. For the Market Surveillance Committee, we conducted the following technical reviews as requested by the MSC. On the validity of technical reasons cited by trading participants with geothermal plants for their non-compliance to the must offer rule. On the technical limitation of Malaya Thermal Power Plant in 2013. On dispatch tolerance limit in 2014. On the impact of N-1 contingency imposed on transmission lines and substation transformers to the delivery of power in 2015. On the period of conduct of testing and commissioning per type of facility in 2019. And recently, on the appropriateness of the price trigger factor. For the PEM Audit Committee, the TC contributed in the conduct of the market operations audit and review of metering installations and arrangements. Pursuant to its mandate under the WESM rules, the TC has reviewed and submitted to the Rules Change Committee its comments and suggestions to various proposed amendments to the WESM rules and market manuals. Those are the highlights of the TC's accomplishments for the past 15 years. The TC will continue to provide assistance to various stakeholders based on its mandate and responsibility in the WESM rules for the development of our electricity market. Thank you, and have a great day.
The RE Market Governance Committee, or the RGC, is a newly created body under the PEMC board tasked mainly to oversee the implementation of the renewable energy market. Presenting the report for the Renewable Energy Market Governance Committee is the chairman of the REM Governance Committee, Director Peter Wallace.
Good afternoon, I'm Peter Wallace. I'm one of the two independent members of the PEM board, and I can currently sit as the independent member and chairperson of the Renewable Energy Market Governance Committee, or the RGC as we call it. The RGC is a five-man body with one independent representative who is selected from the independent members of the PEM board and acts concurrently as the chairperson, and that at the moment is myself. One representative from the RE Register, currently represented by the PEMC President Oscar Ala. One representative from the private distribution utilities, currently represented by Lawrence Fernandez of Meralco. One representative from the electric co-ops, currently represented by Rene Fahia-Guten of Ramelco. And one representative from the REM generators and retail electricity suppliers, currently represented by Attorney Anne Montalevano of PIPA. I'm here to provide you with the highlights of our activities undertaken by the RGC over the past year from the time it was established in 2020. Pursuant to the DOE Department Circular number DC 2019-12-0016, the RGC was created to establish and ensure compliance by the mandated participants with the REM rules. A majority of the REM governance functions are carried out by the RGC under the PEM Board's supervision. Specifically, the RGC is tasked to oversee the activities of the RE Registrar and the members of the REM to ascertain if they fulfil their obligations under the REM rules. Since its creation in 2020, the RGC has continuously monitored the activities of the RE Register and REM participants and tackled the issues and concerns with regard to the implementation of the RE market prior to its commercial operations. For the past year, the RGC has accomplished the following tasks. Number one, formulation of the RGC's bylaws and subsequently PEM Board approval of them. Number two, review and endorsement of the Renewable Energy Market Participation Agreement, which was to the PEM Board, which was sent to the PEM Board, which the Board subsequently adopted and approved for execution by intending REM members. 3. Review and endorsement to the Rule Change Committee on RGC of the proposed amendment to the WESM and retail rules of operation of the REM, which is a requirement under the law. 4. As part of its mandate to process REM rules and manual change proposals, the RGC deliberated on these and approved the following proposals and endorsed them to the PEM Board. Number 1, a new manual on REM registration. Number 2, a new manual on REM FIT REC allocation. Number 3, a new manual on REM investigation procedures and penalties. Number 4, a new manual on REM dispute resolutions. And 5, proposed amendments to the REM rules on the extension of timeline of data provision to the Registrar from Transco. These proposals were subsequently approved by the PEM Board and endorsed to the DOE for final approval and promulgation. As we move closer to the target REM commercial operations date on 26th of June, the REM Governance Committee has continuously monitored the status of all the activities related to the REM. These activities were identified in the REM readiness checklist submitted by PEMC to the DOE. In April, the RGC provided its recommendations to the PEM Board in declaring the REM commercial operations in June 2021, based on its assessment of the status of activities identified in the REM readiness checklist. So those are the major accomplishments of RGC over the past year from the time it was created. I would like to thank the sectoral members of the body and the sectors they represent for their continued active participation in the discussions and consultations organised for the RE market. We acknowledge that more work is ahead of us, especially now that we are nearing REM readiness commercial operations. We'd like to ask you for your full support as we implement the new market to achieve the objectives of the RE law and the REM rules. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a good afternoon.
Thank you for your reports, chairpersons of the WESM and REM governance committees. We shall now begin the meeting proper. The PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting 2021 will be presided by the chairman of the company. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome PEM Board Chairman, Mr. Noel Aboboto.
Good afternoon, fellow directors, officers, and members and guests, and welcome to this year's annual general membership meeting of the Philippine Electricity Market, or PEMC. My name is Noel V. Aboboto, the current chairman of the PEM Board, and I will act as the chairman of the meeting. Due to the public health impact of the coronavirus pandemic, and for the safety of the members, the 2021 Annual General Membership Meeting is being conducted virtually. The health and well-being of our employees, our members, and partners are all of utmost importance. Members who have successfully registered were able to participate through remote communication through the use of the Zoom video conferencing collaboration tool. There are currently around 200 attendees log and viewing the proceedings virtually. We are webcasting and recording this afternoon's proceedings so that we can prepare a complete transcript for members unable to attend our meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me today via remote communication are the members of the PEM Board and PEMC senior management. Can I ask PEM Board members to turn on your camera, please? We have with us Attorney Oscar Ala, President. Ms. Elenita Go, Treasurer. Mr. Felino Herbert Agdigos. Mr. Jesus Aranza. Mr. Rolando Cagampan. Attorney Ronald Dylan Concepcion. Mr. Alan Laniba. Attorney Richard Nethercott. Mr. Juan Eugenio Rojas. Mr. Emmanuel Rubio. Mr. Peter Leslie Wallace. Attorney Marian de la Fuente, Corporate Secretary. Attorney Hazel Lopez Gubaton, Compliance Officer and Head Enforcement and Compliance. Mr. John Catrice, Head of Market Assessment. Mr. Clares Alocon, Head of Corporate Planning and Communications. Mr. Patrick Fernandez, Head Information Security Technology Development. Ms. Elaine Gonzalez, Head Internal Audit Department. And Ms. Meredith S. Hoxon, Head Corporate Services Department. I think I'm missing something. We have with us also Director Lito Santos. Also joining us via remote communication is the company's external auditor for this year's annual general membership meeting, Reyes and Tacondong. I would like to take a moment to recognize President Oscar Ala, Directors Manny Rubio, Rolando Cagampan, and Gilbert Pagobo, 4 of our directors who are not standing for election this year, and the late Director Uftan, who unfortunately passed away last March 2020. With their departure, PEMC loses substantial expertise, wisdom, and expertise. President Ala, Director Subio, Cagampan, and Pagobo, we wish you the best luck. PEMC is grateful for your contribution and continued support. Part of the agenda is allotted to answer the questions of the members. Out of consideration for others, please limit yourself to 1 question only. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. However, no one attending via the webcast or telephone is permitted to use any audio recording device. With this now, ladies and gentlemen, I now officially call the 2021 Annual General Membership Meeting of the Philippine Electricity Market to order. We now proceed with the certification of notices and determination of quorum. Ms. Secretary, were notices of this meeting sent to the members of the company in accordance with the bylaws of the company?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Written notices of this meeting were sent to all members of record by email. The notices were published on our website at www.wesm.ph in accordance with the Corporation Code and the bylaws of the company. The rationale and the explanation for each agenda item which require members' approval were provided as well in the notice of the meeting. The proposed resolutions for the meeting were contained in the notice and proposed agenda, a copy of which was uploaded in the PEMC website as mentioned, and the proposed resolutions shall be shared on the screen as the same is being taken up.
That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Do we have a quorum for this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I hereby certify that we have approximately 161 members who registered and voted. Among those, they are representing 5,256,978 voting rights of PEMC. We therefore have a quorum for this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. There being a quorum, we shall now proceed with the meeting proper. Upon registration, you were allowed to vote on the matters to be passed on upon this meeting. The proposed resolutions for this meeting are contained in our detailed agenda, a copy of which was provided to all members prior to this meeting. We have also posted the proposed resolutions in the company website. This practice is in line with the company's commitment to good governance and its desire to encourage broader participation of its members in deciding fundamental matters involving the company. May I now ask our Corporate Secretary, Attorney Marian Venuza de la Fuente, to read the ground rules and voting procedure for the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For fair, orderly, and efficient proceedings, the following ground rules shall be observed during the meeting. While the meeting is done via remote communication, we do still welcome questions from our members. When we come to the question and answer portion, we will answer questions from members. You can submit your questions through the text or chat box appearing in the screen. For questions which we cannot answer today, you are advised to email them with our contact details at either pemc_ocs@wsm.ph. Also, please be advised that the corporate secretary shall read aloud all the comments as posted in the screen. Also, all concerns shall be raised by way of questions so that this can be answered properly. The chairman may waive or allow exceptions to the foregoing rules if, in his judgment, he deems it necessary or proper under the circumstances. Members also were provided with access to cast their votes electronically on matters passed upon in the meeting, and likewise to elect the board of directors for a 3-year term from 2021 to 2024. For the voting procedures, the company's sectoral members entitles them to vote based on their sectoral representation as provided in the bylaws. The affirmative vote of members representing at least majority of the voting rights shall be needed to pass each approved resolution or proposed resolution unless the law provides otherwise. For the election of directors, each member is allowed to elect directors individually. Election of directors shall be by plurality of votes. Members in good standing as of June 21, 2021 may exercise the right to vote on the agenda items through electronic voting. Members of their proxies who have successfully registered are also likewise given access to the online voting or election platform. This would allow the members or their proxy to participate and vote electronically on the matters to be passed upon during this annual membership meeting and also for the election of the PEMC's board of directors. As indicated in the notice, there are 6 resolutions proposed for adoption by the members in this meeting. All votes received online were automatically uploaded in the system, while those received electronically were voted and cast by the chairman last 19 and 20 July 2021 in the election voting platform. The voting results were validated by the auditing firm Reyes Tacandong and Company, and each item in the agenda is taken up. As each item of the agenda is taken up, the secretary will report on the votes received and tabulated as of 20 July 2020. As to voting rights determination, the company's sectoral membership entitles the holder to vote in accordance with the allocation set out in the bylaws of the company. The affirmative vote of the members representing at least a majority of the total voting shares or rights shall be needed to pass and approve each proposed resolution unless the law provides otherwise. Finally, may we remind everyone to observe online etiquette as provided in the event guidelines.
We now proceed to the next order of business, which is the approval of the minutes of the annual general membership meeting held on 29 July 2020. A copy of the minutes has been emailed to the members on June 30, 2021 and uploaded in the company's website. I will now ask the corporate secretary to present the proposed resolutions and voting results for this agenda item?
Mr. Chair, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number 2021-01 for the approval of the minutes of the annual general membership meeting held last July 29, 2020. The resolution is being flashed on the screen. On the voting results, I am pleased to report that we have received and tabulated the following votes. For the approval of the minutes of the calendar year 2020 annual general membership meeting, we have tabulated 4,316,845 voting rights. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, with members owning more than a majority of the total voting shares having voted for the motion has been approved and resolution number 2021-01 has been adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. For the next item in the agenda, may I now call on our President, Attorney Oscar Ala, to deliver his report.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Philippine Electricity Market Corporation, the governing body of the wholesale electricity spot market, ensures the effective and proactive governance of the power boards to safeguard the interest and welfare of the Filipino consumers. Since early 2018, PEMC has reshaped its identity, focusing on its vision of a premier electricity market and champion of governance, or PEMC Go. Collectively, our mission is PEMC, that is power, efficiency, market, and competition, which are all geared towards the achievement of the objectives of the market as provided in the EPIRA. With the support of the PEM Board, WESM governance committees, WESM members, the policy-making and regulatory bodies, we are pleased to report the following remarkable accomplishments realized pursuant to our mandate. Our goal is for the market to be conducive in attracting new resources and investments to meet the growing demand of the Filipino consumers. And indeed, 15 years after the market commercially operated, an unstoppable market growth was observed from 11,754.6 megawatts in 2006 to 20,873.57 megawatts in 2021 in terms of registered capacity. The number of direct WESM members has substantially increased as well, from only 13 participants to 294 at present. And these numbers will continue to grow as we start the WESM in the Mindanao region and further promote the WESM. Given these increasing numbers, PEMC remains to be proactive in the performance of its key governance functions, specifically on market monitoring and assessment and enforcement and compliance. On market monitoring and assessment, PEMC ensures the timely submission and publication of its reports for the reference of market participants and in support of the policy making and regulatory functions of the Department of Energy and the Energy Regulatory Commission, respectively. Also, from January 2021 to May 2021, PEMC has submitted a total of 27 market trigger reports to the DOE and ERC relative to the observed price spikes experienced in the recent months. Special reports on market competition, reserve market, among others, were also provided to the DOE and ERC to support policy making and regulatory functions and comply with regulatory and other government reports pertaining to electricity market operations and governance. Relative to our enforcement and compliance functions, we have significantly increased the resolution on several investigation cases with around 448 investigation reports submitted to and resolved by the PEM board as of May 2021. The enhanced guidelines on compliance ratings was also published on April 30, 2021. On the other hand, PEMC, as the chairperson and lead agency of the Market Readiness Steering Committee, or the MRSC, continuously worked together with the WESM participants, market operator, system operator, and service providers to ensure the completion of each market readiness criterion. And indeed, we have successfully shifted to the 5-minute market and started the implementation of the enhanced WESM design starting June 26, 2021, upon the promulgation and declaration of the DOE. On the market governance side, PEMC has also made sure that the updated market rules and manuals related to the enhanced WESM design are publicly available for the use and reference of our market participants. Moreover, we have successfully launched the following governance systems so we can perform our functions aligned with the new market design. First is the Compliance Post-Evaluation and Monitoring System, or the CPEMS. This system is designed to flag concerned trading participants of probable breach of the dispatch conformance standards and offered capacity compliance standards in accordance with the WESM rules and relevant WESM manuals, and provide a mechanism wherein the concerned trading participants will be able to submit reasons or explanations and supporting documents for the flagged probable breach by the compliance monitoring module of the new market management system, or the NMS CMON. Second is our new market assessment system, or NMAS, which is designed to process and analyze data for the 5-minute dispatch for our market monitoring and assessment functions. On the other hand, PEMC, as the designated RE registrar and governance arm of the renewable energy market, or the REM, under DOE's circular number 2019-12-0016, officially started its compliance with its obligations under the REM rules and the said department circular. As the RE registrar appointed pursuant to law, PEMC started the call for registration of participants in the REM on February 27, 2020. As of date, we have assessed around 93%, or 250 out of 268 membership applications from expected REM participants in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Of this, 82%, or 219 companies, have been approved and duly registered as REM members. We have likewise conducted a total of 26 webinars and trainings to REM participants to increase their knowledge and awareness on REM concepts and processes. Also, PEMC has submitted 5 monthly readiness reports for the REM to the DOE and endorsed to the DOE for its consideration the final readiness report recommending the commercial operations of the RE market. We also have an ongoing external certification audit of the Philippine Renewable Energy Market System, or PREMS, and this is expected to be completed by end of July 2021. PEMC shall continuously comply with the RE market requirements and processes and coordinate with the DOE for any issues during the conduct of preparatory activities and assessment of RE market registration applications. Relative to our goal to achieve corporate excellence, PEMC from the start has been committed to attain and maintain its integrated management system, ISO certification. And true enough, we are proud to announce that we have been certified by TUV Rhineland on June 4, 2021 for our information security management system, following the ISO 27001:2015 standard, and quality management system following the ISO 9001:2015 standard. This achievement is such a corporate milestone, noting the numerous tasks required for the enhanced WESM design operations and REM implementation, despite the restrictions brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. PEMC has completed the required trainings, conduct of internal audit, risk assessment, and documentation review. With this, PEMC demonstrated the ability to consistently provide services that meet customer requirements and elevate customer satisfaction through effective application of systems, including processes for improvement of the system. Inasmuch as there is still a handful to be achieved in the industry, there have been various improvements to count. People behind the success of the past year have made sure that stakeholders will be updated on the accomplishments of the PEM board, the WESM governance committees, and PEMC as an organization. As such, I am deeply honored to lead and partake in shaping the electricity market's future with the men and women of PEMC in upholding commitment, professionalism, excellence, and values partnership to enable continued growth in the power industry and accelerate market policy breakthroughs. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Attorney Ala. Let's proceed to the next item in the agenda. Fellow members, allow me to deliver my message. Ladies and gentlemen, this year marks the 3rd year of the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation's transition to its new renewed mandate as the governance arm of the WESM, after the market operations function has been transferred to the independent market operator. This also marks my 3rd year as the PEMC's chairman. Governing the WESM has been a very challenging task, especially amid the global pandemic due to the COVID-19, which struck us in 2020 and forced many of us to get our jobs done in non-conventional ways. Doing so successfully may not have been possible without the help of my fellow members of the PEM board, and for that, I wish to thank all of you. Thanks most especially to PEMC President Attorney Oscar Ala for managing the day-to-day operations of PEMC, and for the hard work and dedication of the PEMC's officers and staff. I express my sincere gratitude. I also wish to take this opportunity to thank all our partners in the industry, from the generation, distribution, supply, system operations, and the market operations. And to our oversight agencies, the Department of Energy, led by Secretary Alfonso Cusi, and the Energy Regulatory Commission, led by Chairman and CEO Agnes de Veradera. Thank you for your support and guidance. As we welcome the new set of PEM board members this year, one thing is for sure: PEMC will relentlessly tackle the challenges of governing the WESM and sustaining the market's growth and evolution. It will continuously promote a culture of compliance and accountability among the members of the WESM. It will ensure that the market runs efficiently by formulating and implementing proper monitors for the activities undertaken by our market participants. With the commercial operations of the RE market with PEMC as the registrar, a new task is also ahead of us, and that is to make sure that it will run smoothly and operate as intended to achieve its objectives under the Renewable Energy Law. In doing so, we are encouraged participants of the RE market to actively participate in the endeavor and to comply with your requirements under the RPS as provided for under the policies set by the DOE. Let us support each other in making the operations of this new market a success. This is new for all of us, and we hope for your cooperation and active participation in all the activities lined up to educate each one of us on what is this RE market is all about and reap its benefits real soon. Certainly, you and I share the same hope for the successful implementation of the enhanced WESM design, which is finally happening this year. I look forward to having several challenges in market and systems operations resolved with the application of the 5-minute dispatch, among other things. Implementing the enhanced WESM design should, however, not prevent us from continually finding ways to improve the market. After all, the WESM is an evolving market. Having said this, we encourage participants to actively participate in the rules change process, which is one of the major governance functions, not just in the wholesale and retail market, but also in the RE market now. Moreover, let us work together in exploring the possibilities of developing and implementing new markets and enhancements in the next 3 years or so. Included in our wish list are the financial transmission rights, or FTR, the electricity derivative markets, or EDM, and the demand-side bidding, or DSB. Coming from the supply sector, I would be glad also to see the enhancements in the RCOA, which is intended to achieve empowerment of our consumers in choosing their electricity supplier. I will not keep you any longer. Again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve you for the past 3 years and to speak before you right this very moment. More work is still ahead of us, and I encourage each one of us, each sector in the energy and RE markets, to continue taking our part in making all of these markets work and operate successfully. At the end of the day, our goal is really to bring electricity to every home and workplace. May we have a meaningful and productive afternoon as we move on to the rest of our agenda for the 2021 AGMM. Thank you all, and God bless us all. Thank you, everyone. Let us proceed with the ratification of the board and management. Next on the agenda is the ratification and approval of the acts, resolutions, and deeds of the board of directors, its committees, and management of the company since the annual general membership meeting held on July 29, 2020 until today. May I request our corporate secretary to present the proposed resolutions and voting results for this agenda item. Attorney Marianne, I think you're on mute.
Mr. Sherman, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number 2021 2022-02 for the ratification and approval of the acts, resolution, and deeds of the Board of Directors, its committees and management of the company since the annual general membership meeting held last July 29, 2020 until today. The resolution is being flashed on the screen for reference. The acts provided in the minutes of the meetings of the board, its committees and management also includes the approval of the market manuals, amendments to the market rules, market fees applications, budgets, contracts and agreements, projects, treasury matters, and disclosures to the Securities and Exchange Commission, Energy Regulatory Commission, and to the Department of Energy. The acts of management pertain to those taken to implement the resolutions, directives, and instructions of the board and its committees, and those done in the regular course of the company's business. On the voting results, I am pleased to report that we have received and tabulated the following votes. It's 4,081,294 voting rights. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, with members owning more than a majority of the total voting shares, having voted for the motion has been approved and resolution number 2021-02 has been adopted.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Next on the agenda is further amendments sought to the company's articles of incorporation and bylaws. Ms. Secretary, can you tell the summary of the proposed resolution and amendments?
Amendments to the articles of incorporation and bylaws as proposed amendments are sought in order to align with the provision of the revised corporation code on the virtual conduct and notices of meetings of members by remote communication, also in remote participation of members by remote communication, voting of members in absentia, and as the alignment of the timeline in accordance with the mandated timeline as provided in the revised corporation code. These are also aligned with the recent issuance and amendments to the WESM rules based on the qualification of an independent director as pronounced and promulgated under Department Circular number 2020-10-001 dated October 22, 2020. Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the resolution for the approval and the ratification of the amendments of the articles of incorporation and bylaws. However, based on the voting results and based on the votes received and tabulated, the required two-thirds of the total voting rights of the members were not met. Under the revised corporation code for the approval of the amendments of articles of incorporation and bylaws, it is required that two-thirds of the total voting rights be confirmed or be approved of the said amendments. However, based on the votes, we have received total voting rights approving the said amendments equivalent to 4,077,710 as opposed to the required 4,934,880, which represents the two-thirds of the voting rights of the company. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, this motion for approve the adoption of the amendments to the articles of incorporation and bylaws has not been approved and the proposed resolution is not adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. The next item on the agenda is election of the directors to serve office from the years 2021 to 2024 until their successors are duly elected and qualified. The corporation's articles of incorporation provide for 15 seats in the board. May I now request our corporate secretary to introduce the nominees.
Mr. Chair, the following are the nominees for the generation sector. We have Mr. Juan Eugenio Rojas, Ms. Elenita Go, Mr. Victor Santos, and Mr. Daniel Aboitis. For the distribution sector, we have Mr. Ronald Valles and Mr. Roel Castro. And then for the public distribution sector, we have Mr. Alan Laniba and Mr. Felino Herbert Agigos. For the system operator, we have Mr. Attorney Ronald Dylan Concepcion. And also for the market operator, we have with us Attorney Richard Nethercott. And then for the independent directors, Mr. Chairman, our candidates are composed of Mr. Jesus Aranza, Mr. Engineer Fortunato Lines, Attorney Leonido Jimenez Polido III, Attorney Elvin Hayes Inidea, Mr. Peter Wallace, Attorney Myla Lourdes de Castro, and Ms. Nieves Osorio.
Based on the votes cast, may I know the results of the election of the sectoral sector?
Mr. Chairman, the votes cast and tabulated for each of the sector are as follows or as shown. For, can we put also back to the slides previously? Thank you. Previous slide, please, for the nominees. Okay, for the candidate for Mr. Juan Eugenio Rojas, he was able to have a total voting rights of 4,928,150. And then for Ms. Lenita Go, she was able to have a voting rights of 4,757,253. While for Mr. Victor Santos, it's 4,709,127. And also Mr. Danela Boitis, it's 4,213,290. For a total of 84,026 votes were abstained from the election of the directors for the generation sector. Next would be for the distribution sector. Specifically on the private distribution sector. For Attorney Ronald Valles, he was able to get a total voting rights of 4,590,992. And for Mr. Ruel Castro, the total voting rights received is 4,166,320. Here, there were a total of 450,783 votes were abstained from the election of the directors for the private distribution sector. And then for the public distribution sector, we have with us Mr. Alan Laniba, who were able to get the total voting rights of 4,563,378. And then for Mr. Felino Herbert Agrigos, it's 4,552,170. A total of 526,530 votes were abstained from the election of directors for public distribution sector. And then for the supply sector. Okay, for the supply sector, Mr. Chair, you were able to gather total voting rights of 4,981,552. A total voting rights of 114,124 were abstained from the election of directors for the supply sector. And for the system operator, we have with us Attorney Ronald Dylan Concepcion, who was able to gather a total voting rights of 4,707,074. There is a total of 368,572 votes, which were abstained from the election of the directors for the system operator. And then for the market operator, we have with us Attorney Richard Nethercott. He was able to gather a total voting rights of 4,977,938. A total of 117,706 votes were abstained from the election of the directors for the market operator. And then for the results of the independent nominees of the board, for Mr. Jesus Aranza, he was able to gather a total votes of 4,271,786. For Engineer Fortunato Laines, his total voting rights achieved is 3,745,671. For Attorney Leonido Jimenez Pulido III, he was able to get a total voting rights of 2,983,742. For Mr. Attorney Elvin Hayes Inidea, the total voting rights of 2,884,873 was attributable or casted in his favor. For Mr. Peter Wallace, it's a 2,112,930 voting rights. For Attorney Myla Lourdes de Castro and Ms. Nieves Osorio, they were able to gather 1,900,583 and 661,907 respectively. And sir, as the bylaws provide for 4 seats for the generators, 2 seats for the private TUs, and 2 seats for the public TU, 1 seat for the supply sector, 1 seat for the system operator, and 1 seat for the market operator. All the nominees for the sectoral are to be duly elected directors as per duly elected directors of the company. Given that all the nominees were duly elected for the years 2021 to 2024 until their successors are elected. Based on the total votes cast and tabulated for the independent directors, as per the company's bylaws, it provides 4 seats to the independent directors. By plurality of votes, the top 4 nominees for election as independent directors of the company for the years 2021 up to 2024 until their successors are elected and qualified are Mr. Jesus Aranza, Engineer Fortunato Laines, Attorney Leonido Jimenez Polido, and Attorney Elvin Hayes Lidea. Accordingly, the following are declared duly elected of the Board of Directors of the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation. For the generation sector, Mr. Daniel Aboitis, Ms. Elenita Go, Mr. Juan Eugenio Rojas, Mr. Victor Santos, and then we have for the private distribution sector, Mr. Attorney Ronald Valles, Mr. Ruel Castro, and for the public distribution sector, Mr. Alan Laniba, Mr. Felino Herbert Aguigos. For representing the supply sector, the system operator, and the market operator are Mr. Noel Boboto, Attorney Ronald Dylan Concepcion, and Attorney Richard Nethercott, respectively. And for the independent directors, the top four votes or nominees who have gathered the top 4 votes for the independent directors are Mr. Jesus Aranza, Engineer Fortunato Laines, Ms. Attorney Leonido Jimenez Polido, and Attorney Elvin Hayes Lidea. The election of the above-named persons as directors of the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation for the year 2021 to 2024 are elected, and they are and the resolution number 2021-03 approving and electing the said above-named persons is hereby approved and carried. Congratulations to our duly elected directors.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary, and my congratulations as well to all newly elected directors of PEMC. The next order of business is the approval of the company's audited financial statements for the period ended on December 31, 2020. May I ask our Corporate Secretary to summarize the company's 2020 audited financial statement?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Navarro Amper & Company or Deloitte Philippines expresses that PEMC's financial statement presents a fairly in all materials respect the financial position of the company as of December 31, 2020, and its financial performance and its cash flow for the year ended is in accordance with the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards or PFRS.
May I request our Corporate Secretary to present the proposed resolution and voting results for this agenda item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for this one, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number 2021-04 for the approval of the company's audited financial statements for the period ended December 31, 2020. The resolution is being flashed on the screen. I am pleased to report that we have received and tabulated the following votes. For the approval of the 2020 audited financial statements, we have secured an approval voting rights in the amount of or in the numbers of 4,304,931. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, with members owning more than a majority of the total voting shares having voted for the motion have been approved and proposed resolution number 2021-04 have been adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. The next order of business is the appointment of the company's external auditor. May I request Director Eugenio Rojas to advise the members of this particular item?
Mr. Chair, I would just read it accordingly, sir. So, Mr. Chair, PEMC has evaluated the performance during the past year of the company's present external auditor, Navarro Amper & Company, Deloitte, and PEMC is actually satisfied with their performance. The Board of Directors hereby endorses the appointment of Navarro Amper & Company, Deloitte, as external auditor of the company for the year 2021.
And may I
so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rojas.
Thank you, Director Rojas. May I now ask our Corporate Secretary to present the proposed resolution and voting results of this agenda item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, management is proposing the adoption of resolution number 2020-04 for the approval of Navarro Parent Company Deloitte Certified Public Accountants to be retained as the company's external auditor. The resolution is being flashed on the screen. I am pleased to report that we have received and tabulated the following votes approving the appointment of said external auditor. It's 5,049,286. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, with members owning more than a majority of the total voting shares having voted for the motion has been approved and resolution number 2021-05 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. We now proceed to our commitment to the WESM Code of Ethics. Can I ask the members of the board to turn on their camera and let's read and go through the pledge of compliance with the WESM Industry Code of Ethics. I, Noel Abubato of Team Philippines Energy Corp, commit myself to comply with the WESM Industry Code of Ethics. In upholding Industry Code of Ethics, I will be guided by the values of accountability, honesty, integrity, and respect as I pledge to promote a culture of compliance with the WESM rules, WESM manuals, and other applicable laws and regulations. To be fair and at all times place the common interest of WESM above my own self-interest. To abide by all the rules that govern the WESM, including but not limited to immediate reporting of any unlawful and ethical activities committed by WESM entities to the appropriate government agencies such as DOE, ERC, or PCCC for appropriate action, promptly submitting accurate WESM-related reports and other related documents, actively participating in periodic WESM audits and other related activities, and enabling a truly efficient and transparent power boards. To continuously be aware and updated and understand the provisions of this code. All of this being done for a better, fairer, and a more transparent and efficient WESM. By following these principles and maintaining the highest ethical standards, I make the WESM greater and stronger than it was after having been a part of it. The oath I make freely and upon my honor, so help me God. Ms. Secretary, are there questions raised by our members prior to the meeting that needs to be addressed by the board of management?
Mr. Chairman, yes, prior to this meeting, there were actually no questions raised. However, we were able to receive one question during via screen chat via this live. So the question, Chair, allow me to read, sir, is will the WESM Mindanao really start this July 26? This is from Mr. Alfredo Sanaga Jr. of Cagayan Electric Power and Light Incorporated. To answer this question, may I call on Mr. Clares C. Halocon from our Corporate Planning and Communications.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. Are there members who wish to ask their questions? None? Ms. Secretary, is there any other business to consider in this meeting?
Okay. To respond to the question regarding the commercial operations of WESM Mindanao, as of now, we are doing WESM central scheduling in the region. I believe the DOE will have a determination of the declaration of the commercial operations of WESM in that region based on the completion of the readiness requirements among the participants of the region.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clarence Halocon. Ms. Secretary, other members who wish to ask their questions? Are there any other questions from the members?
Hello, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, looking at the screen of the chat box of the Zoom, we have not seen any other questions that was raised by the members. So no, in answer, sir, there are no more questions that are posted in the screen.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Secretary. Well then, is there any other business to consider in this meeting?
Mr. Chair, based on the agenda, there is no other item to consider in this meeting.
Since there is no other business to consider, this 2021 Annual General Membership Meeting is hereby adjourned. We will be posting a link of the recorded meeting on our website. Members may raise any concern or questions regarding the meeting by sending an email to our corporate secretary at PMC_OCS@wesm.ph. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your support, and we wish you all continued good health in the coming years. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
We are flashing on the screen the QR code of PEMC Transactional Survey. We value your inputs and would greatly appreciate receiving your feedback on today's online event by accomplishing the PEMC Transactional Survey form, accessible through the QR code currently shown on screen and the access link in the chat box. This will help us improve our future events. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. This officially concludes the 2021 PEMC Annual General Membership Meeting. We thank you for joining us today, and we trust that you and your families remain safe and healthy. Despite the challenges that we are faced with in this ongoing pandemic, let us all maintain the enthusiasm and resiliency that will keep the spirit of efficiency and fair competition in the WESM alive for generations to come.